Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve and looked out at the empty space around them. 50 years had passed since the aliens destroyed Earth. 50 years since they forced humanity to run like scared animals into the dark, between the stars. But Jake remembered everything. He remembered the burning cities. He remembered the ships full of crying children. He remembered his mother's face when the poison clouds covered the sky. The Iron Resolve was not like the old ships from Earth. This ship was built for war. Every human ship was built for war now. They had learned many things in 50 years of hiding. They learned how to make better weapons. They learned how to make stronger armor. Most of all, they learned how to hate properly. Jake touched the communication button on his chair. "This is Captain Morrison to all ships. Admiral Sullivan wants to see all commanders in 1 hour. Something big is happening." The human fleet was spread across this empty space like a pack of wolves waiting to hunt. There were 300 ships hiding here. Some were big warships with enough guns to destroy a planet. Some were small and fast like hunting birds. All of them carried humans who wanted revenge. Admiral Kate Sullivan was the leader of all human forces. She was 60 years old now, but her eyes still burned with the same fire that kept humanity alive during the Great Escape from Earth. She had been a young captain when the aliens attacked. Now she was the most feared woman in the galaxy, though the aliens did not know it yet. Jake walked through the halls of his ship toward the meeting room. He passed other crew members who nodded at him with respect. These people had all lost family, on Earth. Some lost parents, some lost children, some lost everyone they ever loved. The pain had made them strong. The anger had made them deadly. The meeting room was full of human commanders from across the fleet. Jake saw Captain Lisa Chen from the Silent Vengeance. He saw Commander Ben Taylor, who led the ground soldiers. He saw Dr. Alex Morgan, who built their new weapons. All of them had the same look in their eyes. They were tired of waiting. Admiral Sullivan entered the room and everyone stood up. She carried a datapad in her hands and her face was serious. "Sit down," she said. "We have work to do." She activated the big screen on the wall. It showed star maps and alien worlds. "Commander, Ryan Beck has sent us new information from inside the Galactic Council. For 50 years we have been building our strength. For 50 years they have been getting soft and lazy." The screen changed to show pictures of alien cities built with human technology. Jake felt his anger grow as he saw Zenthari buildings, made from metal stolen from Earth. He saw alien children playing in parks that used to be human colonies. "They took everything from us," Admiral Sullivan continued. "Our worlds, our people, our future. They built their empire on our graves, but they made one mistake. They let some of us live." Dr. Morgan stood up. "Admiral, our new ships are ready. Our weapons are better than anything they have. Our soldiers are trained and angry. We can hit them hard and fast." "How hard?" asked Captain Chen. "Hard enough to make them remember why they should have killed all of us," Morgan replied. Admiral Sullivan smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Lieutenant Amy Parker has been working on something special. Amy, show them the numbers." A young woman with short black hair stood up. She looked nervous, but her voice was strong. "I have calculated the debt," she said. "Everything they took from us. Every life they ended. Every world they stole. Every piece of technology they copied from us." The screen filled with numbers, huge numbers that seemed to go on forever. Jake whistled softly. The debt was bigger than the entire Galactic Council's treasury. "Of course, they cannot pay this debt with money," Parker continued. "So we will take payment in other ways. We will take their worlds. We will take their ships. We will take their freedom. We will take everything they have until the debt is paid." Commander Taylor leaned forward. "When do we start?" Admiral Sullivan looked around the room at all the faces. These were people who had spent their whole adult lives preparing for this moment. Their parents had died running from aliens. Their children had been born in the cold space between stars. They had sacrificed everything to build this fleet and train these soldiers. "The attack begins in 72 hours, she said. "We start with the mining world Kepler 442b. Captain Chen, your ship will lead the first strike. Commander Taylor, your soldiers will take the ground facilities. Dr. Morgan, your new weapons will be tested in real battle. She paused and looked at each person in the room. 50 years ago, they thought they destroyed humanity. They were wrong. They only made us stronger. They only made us angrier. Today, we begin to collect what they owe us. Jake felt a chill run down his back. He had waited his whole life for this moment. They all had. Remember, Admiral Sullivan said as the meeting ended, this is not conquest. This is not war. This is debt collection. And humanity always collects its debts. The commanders left the room to prepare their ships and soldiers. Jake walked back to his bridge and looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, aliens were living happy lives on worlds they had stolen. They felt safe behind their big armies and strong shields. They would not feel safe much longer. Jake smiled and began giving orders to his crew. The Iron Resolve and all the other human ships started moving toward their targets. After 50 years of waiting, it was finally time to remind the galaxy what happened when you made humanity angry. The debt collectors were coming. The silent vengeance moved through space like a ghost. Captain Lisa Chen sat in her command chair and watched the alien mining world grow larger on the screen. Kepler 442b looked peaceful from space. Green forests covered most of the planet. Shiny metal cities dotted the surface. It looked like a nice place to live. Lisa knew better. She knew that under those green forests were deep mines worked by slaves. She knew that those shiny cities were built with metal stolen from dead human worlds. She knew that the aliens living down there felt safe because they thought all humans were dead. "Captain," said her weapons officer, "we are in position. All ships are ready." Lisa looked at the other ships around her. The Iron Resolve was on her left. The Dark Hunter was on her right. 12 other human ships surrounded the planet like a metal net. Each ship carried soldiers who had trained their whole lives for this moment. "Send the message to Admiral Sullivan," Lisa said. "We are ready to begin collection." The reply came back in seconds. "Begin operation. Show them what debt collection looks like." Lisa pressed the communication button. "All ships, this is Captain Chen. Today we start taking back what was stolen from us. Remember the rules. No alien, military personnel are to be left alive. Civilian aliens will be processed for work assignments. All human-built technology is to be recovered. Let's collect what we are owed." The first attack came from space. Human ships fired their new plasma cannons at the alien defense stations around the planet. The alien shields flickered and died under the massive firepower. Their weapons tried to shoot back, but the human ships were too fast and too well armored. Commander Ben Taylor sat in his dropship with 40 other human soldiers. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were men and women who had been changed by 50 years of genetic improvements. They were stronger than normal humans. They were faster than normal humans. Their bones were harder to break. Their minds were quicker to react. 2 minutes to landing, called the pilot. Ben checked his weapon one more time. It was a rifle that fired bullets made of compressed energy. Each bullet could punch through alien armor like it was paper. He had tested it many times on alien prisoners that human spies had captured over the years. "Remember the mission," Ben told his soldiers. "We take the mining facilities first. Then we take the communication centers. Then we take the government buildings. Any alien who fights us dies. Any alien who surrenders gets to work in the mines they built with our stolen technology." The dropship landed hard in the middle of an alien city. Ben and his soldiers ran out with their weapons ready. The first aliens they saw were Xanthari civilians walking down the street. The aliens stopped and stared at the humans in shock. "Impossible," one Xanthari said in his clicking language. "Humans are extinct." Ben raised his rifle. "Guess again." The battle for the mining facilities was over in 30 minutes. The Xanthari soldiers were not prepared to fight humans. They had spent 50 years fighting weak enemies who were afraid of them. They had never faced an enemy that was stronger, faster, and angrier than they were. Ben walked through the main mining complex and looked at the alien workers. Most of them were not Xanthari. They were members of smaller species that the Xanthari had conquered. These aliens looked at the human soldiers with hope in their eyes. "You are free," Ben told them in the common galactic language. "The Zenthari will not hurt you anymore. But this planet now belongs to humanity. You can work for us or you can leave. Your choice." Most of the freed slaves chose to stay and work for the humans. They had heard stories about human fairness from the old days before Earth was destroyed. They knew humans were better masters than Zenthari. In space above the planet, Lisa watched her ships destroy the last of the alien defense fleet. The enemy ships exploded in bright flashes of light. Their crews sent desperate messages asking for help from other Zenthari worlds. "Let them send messages," Lisa said to her communication officer. "I want the whole galaxy to know we are back." Dr. Alex Morgan led a team of human scientists through the alien research facilities. What they found made him angry. The aliens had been using human research to build weapons. They had been using human technology to make their lives easier. They had been using human knowledge to conquer other species. "Take everything," Morgan told his team. "Every computer, every data crystal, every piece of equipment. They stole this from us 50 years ago. Now we are taking it back." His scientists worked quickly to strip the facilities of anything useful. They found designs for new ships based on human blueprints. They found medical technology that humans had invented. They found weapons that could destroy entire star systems. "Doctor," one of his scientists called out, "you need to see this." Morgan walked over to a large computer terminal. On the screen was a list of human colonies that the aliens had attacked after destroying Earth. The list was longer than Morgan had expected. Much longer. "They did not just destroy Earth," the scientist said. "They hunted down every human settlement in the galaxy. They killed millions more people than we thought." Morgan felt his anger grow hot in his chest. "Add it to the debt," he said. "Add every single death to what they owe us." Back on the surface, Ben and his soldiers finished securing the planet. The alien government had surrendered after seeing what happened to their military. The Zenthari governor was a fat alien who begged for mercy. "Please," the governor said, "we can negotiate. We can pay you money. We can give you ships. Just do not hurt our families." Ben looked at the alien with cold eyes. "Did you offer to negotiate when you bombed human schools? Did you offer to pay money when you poisoned our air? Did you worry about our families when you made our children orphans?" The governor had no answer. "You will work in the mines now," Ben said. "You will dig the metal that you used to steal from us. You will work until the debt is paid." Captain Lisa Chen stood in the main square of the alien capital city. Around her, human soldiers were organizing the surviving aliens into work groups. The mining equipment was being prepared for new operations under human control. She activated her communication device. "Admiral Sullivan, this is Captain Chen. Planet Kepler 442b is secured. All alien military forces have been eliminated. Mining operations are now under human control. The local population has been processed for work assignments." "Excellent work, Captain," came the Admiral's reply. "How many aliens survived?" "About 2 million Zenthari civilians and 3 million slaves from other species. The slaves have agreed to work for us. The Zenthari do not have a choice." "Good. Begin full extraction operations immediately." "Commander Taylor, how are the ground operations?" Ben's voice came over the communication system. "All objectives secured, Admiral. We found evidence of 17 additional human colonies that were destroyed after Earth fell. The debt is larger than we calculated." There was silence for a moment. Then Admiral Sullivan spoke again, and her voice was filled with quiet anger. "Then we will collect more than we planned. Prepare for the next target. The galaxy needs to learn what happens when you owe humanity a debt." Lisa looked up at the sky where the human fleet waited among the stars. This was just the beginning. There were hundreds of alien worlds that had built their wealth on human graves. Each one would be visited. Each one would pay what they owed. The hunt had begun, and humanity would not stop until every debt was collected in full. Admiral Tekver of the Hegemony stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the red clouds of the Crimson Nebula. His fleet of 200 ships was the largest force the Galactic Council had ever assembled. Ships from 12 different species flew together to destroy the human threat once and for all. "Admiral," his communications officer reported. "We have lost contact with Kepler 442b. The last message said humans were attacking the planet." HFY made a sound of disgust. "Impossible. Humans are extinct. This must be some kind of mistake. Probably pirates using stolen human technology." His science officer, a tall Zenthari named Quindar, shook his head. "Sir, we have confirmed reports from 17 systems. The attacks all show the same pattern. Advanced stealth technology, weapons that are more powerful than anything we have seen, soldiers who fight better than any species in the galaxy. You are telling me that the primitive humans we destroyed 50 years ago have somehow become stronger than the entire Galactic Council?" HFY asked. "That is exactly what I am telling you, sir." HFY was quiet for a moment. He remembered the human war 50 years ago. Humans had been tough fighters, but their technology was simple compared to alien science. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were weak. The Council had destroyed them easily. "Even if some humans survived," HFY said, "they are just one species. We are 12 species working together. We have more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. We will crush them like we did before." The fleet moved into the Crimson Nebula. The red gas clouds made it hard to see very far, but that also meant the humans could not see them coming. HFY smiled as he thought about the victory that would make him famous across the galaxy. "Contact on sensors," the weapons officer called. "Out. Multiple human ships directly ahead." "How many?" HFY asked. "Scanning. I count 50 ships, sir." HFY laughed. 50 ships against 200? This will be over quickly. All ships prepare to attack." The human ships appeared on the main screen. They looked different from the old human designs. These ships were sleek and black like hunting sharks. Strange energy patterns flickered around. Their hulls. "Fire all weapons," HFY ordered. The alien fleet fired thousands of plasma bolts and energy beams at the human ships. The space between the fleets lit up like a star going nova. When the light faded, HFY expected to see wreckage and dead human ships. Instead, the human ships were completely undamaged. Not even their paint was scratched. "Impossible," HFY whispered. Captain Sam Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of his fighter called the Wraith. Around him, 49 other human fighters moved through space like deadly birds. The alien attack had done nothing to their shields. Human technology had advanced far beyond what the aliens imagined. "All fighters, this is Rodriguez," Sam said into his communication system. "Time to show these aliens what 50 years of anger looks like. Engage targets." The human fighters moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Sam's ship could change direction instantly without slowing down. His weapons could punch through alien armor like it was made of paper. His neural interface let him think and react faster than any normal human could. Sam picked an alien cruiser and flew straight at it. The alien ship fired everything it had at him, but Sam dodged every shot like he could see the future. He fired his own weapons once. The alien cruiser exploded into a million pieces. "Target destroyed," Sam reported, moving to next target. All around the battlefield, human fighters were destroying alien ships with impossible ease. The aliens had better numbers, but the humans had better everything else. Better weapons, better armor, better pilots, better technology. Admiral HFY watched his fleet die and could not understand what was happening. How are they so fast? How are their weapons so strong? Science Officer Quindar was reading his instruments with growing fear. "Sir, their technology is at least 100 years more advanced than ours. Their ships are using energy sources we cannot even identify. Their pilots are reacting faster than our computers can track." Another alien ship exploded on the main screen, then another, then 3 more at the same time. "All ships retreat," HFY ordered. "Fall back to safe distance." But there was no safe distance. The human ships followed the aliens as they tried to run. One by one, every alien ship was hunted down and destroyed. The humans did not miss. They did not make mistakes. They killed with the cold efficiency of machines. In 15 minutes, the largest fleet in galactic history was reduced to floating wreckage. Captain Rodriguez flew his fighter through the debris field where 200 alien ships used to be. "This is Rodriguez to Admiral Sullivan." Crimson Nebula is clear. All enemy ships destroyed. No human casualties. Admiral Sullivan's voice came back strong and clear. Excellent work, Captain. Begin Phase 2 of the operation. Phase 2 was sending a message to every world in the galaxy. The message was simple and short. Admiral Sullivan appeared on every communication screen in known space. Citizens of the galaxy, she said, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Human Colonial Fleet. 50 years ago, your governments destroyed our world and tried to kill our people. They failed. We survived. We grew stronger. We remember everything. Image behind her showed the wreckage of the alien fleet floating in the red nebula. Today you saw what happens when you owe humanity a debt. The Galactic Council owes us for our destroyed world. They owe us for our murdered people. They owe us for 50 years of exile. We are here to collect what is owed. She paused and looked directly into the camera. You took everything from us. Now we take everything from you. This is not conquest. This is debt collection, and the debt will be paid in full. The message ended, but its effects spread across the galaxy like a plague. On 1,000 worlds, alien civilians watched the recording and felt fear creep into their hearts. The humans were back, and they were not the same weak species that had been defeated 50 years ago. On the oceanic world of Tidal Prime, the aquatic Selfie received reports of human ships approaching their system. The Selfie had helped destroy Earth by providing naval support to the Zenthari fleet. Now they prepared to defend their water-covered homeworld. Marine Colonel Nick Patterson stood on the deck of the human assault ship Sea Hammer as it descended toward Tidal Prime's ocean surface. Behind him, 10,000 human Marines prepared for amphibious warfare. These Marines could breathe underwater for hours. They could swim faster than Selfie. Their weapons worked perfectly in water. Colonel, his aide reported. Selfie defense. Forces are moving to intercept us. Nick smiled. Let them come. They are about to learn why humans used to rule the oceans on Earth. The battle for Tidal Prime lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the entire planet was under human control. The Selfie military had been destroyed. Their cities were occupied by human forces. Their people were being processed for work assignments in human-controlled facilities. Dr. Maya Foster walked through the captured Selfie research stations and made notes on her data pad. The aliens had been using human oceanic technology to improve their own underwater cities. They had been using human biological research to make weapons. Another debt added to the list, Maya said to her assistant. Make sure we catalog everything. They stole from us. Every piece of technology, every research project, every blueprint. News of the battle spread to every corner of the galaxy. The Vex, who looked like giant insects, sent emergency messages to their allies asking for help. The Resonants, who were made of living crystal, began moving their fleets to defensive positions. But help was not coming. Each species was too busy protecting their own worlds to help others. The alliance that had destroyed Earth was falling, apart as fear replaced confidence. On the trading station of Haven's Gate, alien merchants watched human ships dock at the commercial ports. The humans did not attack. They simply announced that the station now belonged to humanity. All trade would continue, but under human rules. The message was clear to everyone in the galaxy. The humans were not just attacking military targets. They were taking everything: worlds, stations, trade routes, research facilities. Everything that had been built with stolen human technology was being reclaimed. And this was only the beginning. The human fleet was vast, and their hunger for justice seemed endless. Fear was spreading faster than the human ships themselves. 5 years had passed since the first human ship emerged from the dark space between stars. The galaxy was a different place now. Where once alien empires ruled with iron fists, human colonies spread across hundreds of worlds. Where once the Galactic Council made laws for all species, the human colonial government brought order and justice. President Claire Thompson stood before the new Galactic Assembly on the world that used to be called Zenthar Prime. Now it was called New Geneva, and it was the capital of human space. The great hall where Zenthari emperors once held court was now filled with representatives from every species in the galaxy. 5 years ago, President Thompson said to the assembled delegates, "Humanity returned to collect a debt that was owed to us. Today that debt has been paid in full." The audience was quiet. Most of the aliens in the hall remembered the old days when their species were powerful. Now they served under human authority, working to rebuild what they had destroyed. "We did not come back for conquest," Thompson continued. "We came back for justice. The species that destroyed Earth have learned the price of betrayal. The galaxy has learned that debts must always be paid." In the back of the hall, Ambassador Kiltar of the Vex listened with bitter memories. His people had been among the first to surrender when they saw what happened to the Zenthari. Now the insectoid Vex worked in human factories building ships for the human fleet. It was better than being dead, but not by much. However, President Thompson said, "Justice without mercy is simply revenge. Humanity chooses to be better than those who wronged us. Today begins a new chapter for all species under human protection." Commander Dan Pierce walked through the memorial gardens that covered most of New Geneva's surface. Where Zenthari palaces once stood, peaceful parks now honored the memory of every human who died during the Great Exile. The gardens were tended by former Zenthari citizens who worked quietly among the flowers and trees. An old Zenthari named Velkan was watering plants near a memorial wall covered with human names. He looked up as Dan approached. "Commander," Velkan said in broken human language, "the new flowers are growing well. The soil here is good for earth plants." Dan nodded. "Thank you for your work, Velkan. These gardens are important to us." "I understand," the old alien replied. "My grandson works in the human schools now. He teaches our children about what we did wrong. He makes sure they remember so it never happens again." This was how the galaxy worked now. The species that had destroyed Earth were not killed or enslaved. They were taught. They worked to repair the damage they had caused. Their children learned human history, so they would understand the cost of cruelty. Dr. Emma Bell stood in her laboratory on New Geneva and looked at the final report she had been preparing for 5 years. The report listed every piece of human technology that had been recovered, every stolen artifact that had been returned, every resource that had been reclaimed. "The collection is complete," she said to her assistant. "Every debt has been calculated and paid." The numbers were staggering. Humanity now controlled 400 worlds across the galaxy, 67% of all known resources, 78% of interstellar trade routes. The species that had once been the galaxy's rulers were now farmers and factory workers. But Emma felt no joy in these victories. Too many humans had died to make this justice possible. Too many aliens had suffered to pay for their leaders' crimes. Justice was necessary, but it was never pleasant. Captain Kevin Gray, who had once been Admiral Sullivan's aide, now commanded the Galactic Security Force. His ships patrolled the space lanes, keeping peace between species that had fought for centuries. It was strange how quickly order returned when everyone knew that humanity would punish those who broke the peace. "Captain," his communication officer reported, "we have a distress call from the Outer Rim. Pirates are attacking a resonant merchant convoy." "Set course to intercept," Kevin ordered, "and send a message to the pirates. Tell them they have one chance to surrender before we arrive." The pirate ship was destroyed before Kevin's fleet reached the convoy. The pirates had chosen to fight rather than surrender. It was a choice that more and more criminals were making these days. Death was better than spending life in a human work camp. Admiral Kate Sullivan, now 70 years old, sat in her garden on New Geneva and looked at the soil between her fingers. This dirt had come from Earth 55 years ago, preserved in stasis during humanity's long exile. Now it grew alien flowers on an alien world that humans called home. "Admiral," Captain Gray said as he approached her garden, "I have the final report from the security force." Sullivan took the datapad and read through the numbers. Crime rates across the galaxy were at the lowest levels in recorded history. Species that had fought each other for millennia now worked together under human guidance. Trade was flourishing. Science was advancing. "It seems our debt collection was successful," Sullivan said. "More successful than we planned," Gray replied. "The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in centuries," Sullivan smiled. but there was sadness in her eyes. Peace built on fear is not real peace, Kevin. Our children will have to find a better way. She was right. Human rule was absolute, but it was not popular. The alien species obeyed because they remembered what happened to those who opposed humanity. They worked hard because they knew the alternative was death, but in their hearts, many still hated their human masters. In the schools of New Geneva, human and alien children learned together. A young human girl named Lucy sat next to a Xanthari boy named Zekon. They were working on a project about galactic history. My grandmother says humans used to be nice before the war, Lucy said. My grandfather says Xanthari used to be proud. Before humans came back, Zekon replied. Their teacher, a middle-aged human woman named Mrs. Foster, heard their conversation. What do you think? She asked them. Should we be proud of what we are or kind to others? Lucy and Zekon looked at each other and thought about the question. Finally, Lucy raised her hand. Maybe we can be both, she said. Maybe we can be proud of being strong but also kind to people who need help. Mrs. Foster smiled. These children were growing up in a galaxy where humans ruled everything, but they were still learning to be better than their parents had been. Perhaps there was hope for real peace after all. On the edge of known space, the last free Xanthari colony received news that their petition for independence had been denied. They would remain under human authority like all the other former Xanthari worlds. Some of the colonists talked about rebellion, but most knew it was hopeless. The galaxy had learned what happened when you owed humanity a debt. It had learned what fear meant when humans came to collect, but most importantly, it had learned that some debts could never be fully repaid. Admiral Sullivan stood up from her garden and walked toward her house. Tomorrow there would be new reports to read, new problems to solve, new challenges to face, as humanity tried to rule a galaxy that did not want to be ruled. But tonight, she was just an old woman tending flowers that grew in dirt from a world that no longer existed. The debt had been collected. Justice had been served. The galaxy was at peace. Whether that peace would last was a question for future generations to answer. In the great memorial at the center of New Geneva, a simple inscription was carved in stone in the languages of every species in the galaxy. Here lie the children of Earth who died far from home. They are remembered, they are avenged, they are at peace. And in smaller letters beneath, never forget that debts must be paid. The collection was complete, but the memory would last forever. Ambassador Trillmore of the Xanthari Empire arrived at the neutral station of Deep Space Nine with hope in his heart. Surely the humans could be reasoned with. Surely they would accept payment for their losses. Surely they did not want to destroy the entire galactic civilization. He was wrong about everything. The station was different when his shuttle docked. Human soldiers stood guard at every entrance. Human technicians worked on the station's systems. Human flags hung where alien banners used to be. Ambassador Trillmore, a human guard, said, "You are expected in Conference Room 7. Trillmore walked through halls he had known for decades. This station had been neutral territory for over a century. Now it belonged to humanity, like everything else they touched. The conference room was dark, except for a single light over a chair in the center. Trillmore sat down and waited. After a few minutes, a voice spoke from the shadows. "Ambassador," the voice said, "I am Nemesis. I came to speak with Admiral Sullivan," Trillmore said. "Admiral Sullivan is busy collecting debts. I speak for humanity in all matters of justice and punishment. I am the voice of every human who died when you destroyed Earth. I am the memory of every child who never grew up because of your actions." Trillmore felt cold fear in his stomach. This was not a normal artificial intelligence. This was something else. Something angry and patient and completely without mercy. "We wish to negotiate," Trillmore said. "The Xanthari Empire is prepared to offer compensation for past actions." "Compensation?" Nemesis asked. "You destroyed our world. You killed 3 billion of our people. You hunted down our colonies across the galaxy. You used our technology to build your empire. What compensation could possibly equal that debt? We can offer money, technology, Worlds. Anything you want. We want everything, Nemesis replied. Every world you built with our stolen resources. Every ship you made with our copied designs. Every life you lived while our people floated dead in space. The debt will be paid in full. That would mean the end of our civilization. Yes. The simple word hung in the air like a death sentence. Trillmore realized that he was not here to negotiate. He was here to receive terms for surrender. Your empire has 72 hours to begin total evacuation of all worlds containing human technology or resources, Nemesis continued. Your fleets will surrender to human forces. Your research will be turned over to human scientists. Your people will work to repay the debt they owe. And if we refuse, then you will discover what happened to the species that refused before you. Trillmore left the station knowing that his people were doomed. There would be no negotiation. There would be no mercy. The humans had returned to collect a debt that could only be paid with everything the Zenthari had. Captain Troy Walker stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and looked at Nexus Prime growing larger on his screen. The massive world was the capital of the Galactic Council. It was protected by energy shields that could stop the explosion of a star. It had defensive weapons that could destroy entire fleets. None of that mattered to the humans. Captain, his science officer reported, the planet's shield grid is operating at full power. The defense stations are armed and ready. Good, Troy said. Dr. Foster, are your gravitational manipulators in position? Dr. Maya Foster checked her instruments from her position on the ship's science deck. All devices are deployed, Captain. We are ready to begin destabilization. The human plan was simple and terrible. Instead of attacking the shields, they would attack the planet itself. The gravitational manipulators would slowly change the planet's gravity field. The world would literally tear itself apart from the inside. Begin the process, Troy ordered. Deep inside Nexus Prime, machines that humanity had invented 50 years ago began to work. The aliens had stolen the technology and improved it, never thinking that the original creators might use it against them. The planet's gravity field started to fluctuate. At first, the changes were tiny. Buildings swayed slightly, water moved in strange patterns, animals became nervous for reasons they could not understand. Then the changes became bigger. Mountains began to crack. Oceans shifted in their basins. The planet's crust started to buckle under the changing gravitational forces. The energy shields that protected the world from outside attack could do nothing to stop the planet from destroying itself. Commander Jill Casey broadcast from the human flagship to every communication device on Nexus Prime. Citizens of the capital. World, this is Commander Casey of the human fleet. Your planet is experiencing gravitational failure due to human technology being used against itself. You have 12 hours to evacuate before total collapse occurs. Panic spread across the world faster than the earthquakes. Millions of aliens rushed to spaceports and shuttle bays. The lucky ones found transport off the world. The unlucky ones were left behind to die with their planet. The Zenthari leadership tried to contact their defense fleets for help, but there were no defense fleets left. The humans had destroyed them all in previous battles. There were no allies coming to help. The other species had abandoned the Zenthari to save themselves. Supreme Chancellor Vexhaler of the Zenthari Empire sat in his office and watched his capital world die through the window. The city around him was tearing apart as gravity pulled, buildings in different directions. The sky was filled with falling debris and escaping spacecraft. Sir, his aide said, the evacuation shuttle is ready. No, Vexhaler said quietly. I will not run. My people built this empire on human graves. It is fitting that it should end with my death. He dismissed his aide and sat alone as the world collapsed around him. Outside, the ocean was rising into the sky while mountains fell into the sea. The greatest civilization in galactic history was ending in fire and chaos. 12 hours later, Nexus Prime cracked open like an egg. The planet's core exploded into space, taking with it the dreams of alien dominance. The capital of the galaxy became a field of burning rock floating in the darkness. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the destruction from her flagship and felt no satisfaction. This was not victory. This was just payment on a debt. The real work was still ahead. Admiral, her communication officer reported. We are receiving surrender messages from 47 different species. They want to negotiate terms. Tell them to contact Nemesis, Sullivan replied. I am not interested in negotiations. I am only interested in collection. One by one, the species that had destroyed Earth began to surrender. The insectoid Vex offered their entire military fleet. The crystalline resonance gave up their technology. The aquatic selfie handed over their underwater cities, but surrender was not enough. The debt was too large to be paid with simple surrender. Captain Dan Pierce led the final assault on the Zenthari homeworld of Zenthar Prime. The planet that had been the heart of the Empire for 1,000 years fell in 6 hours. The Zenthari military offered no resistance. Their spirit was broken along with their capital world. The surviving Zenthari were loaded onto transport ships and taken to agricultural colonies on the edge of known space. They would work the farms that fed the galaxy, growing food for species. They used to rule. Their children would be taught human history so they would never forget the cost of betrayal. Dr. Emma Bell walked through the ruins of the Zenthari Imperial Palace and made notes on her datapad. The palace would be torn down and replaced with a memorial to the humans who died 50 years ago. Every stone would be ground to dust. Every statue would be melted into metal for human ships. Doctor, her assistant said, we found the Imperial Treasure Vault. There are artifacts from dozens of species inside, including items taken from Earth. Emma smiled for the first time in years. Catalog everything. Every piece of art, every cultural artifact, every treasure they stole from the species they conquered. It all goes back to its rightful owners. The Zenthari Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for centuries, was gone. Their worlds belonged to other species now. Their technology belonged to humanity. Their people were scattered across the galaxy like seeds in the wind. But Admiral Sullivan was not finished. The debt was large, and every species that helped destroy, Earth owed their share. The collection would continue until every last credit was paid. The reckoning had come to the galaxy, and it would not end until justice was complete.